Hong Kong's top court upholds 7 activists' convictions for knowingly participating in an unauthorized assembly. And Ukraine and Russia trade accusations over a fire at a nuclear power plant. Hello and welcome to TVB News. In the wake of the success of local athletes at the Paris Olympic Games, some schools in the city are set to organize sports days after the start of the new academic year. This in a bid to generate further interest in athletic pursuits among young people. Hong Kong is also recording a surge in youngsters applying for summertime taekwondo classes. Timothy Lee tells us more.
A powerful front kick and a strike from the fist. These are common forms of attack in the Korean combat sport of Taekwondo. Like many other forms of martial arts, practitioners of Taekwondo shout during certain moves. The sounds are meant to increase their confidence while creating an aura of strength. The sport also exploded in popularity in Hong Kong upon the qualification of Lo Wai-feng, the city's first representative in Taekwondo in the Paris Olympic Games. Chan Pik-chow, the chairman of the Hong Kong Practical Taekwondo Association, said his training center received a wave of calls from parents trying to enroll their kids into his program just days after Lo's match. Several children enrolled in Chan's Taekwondo course emphasized how Lo's performance in the Olympics inspired them to participate in similar high-level events.
I have thought of going into the Hong Kong professional team. Maybe a year later, I would try out. I feel really proud that Hong Kong has a representative to go out into the world and represent all of us. And I hope that maybe in the future there can be more Taekwondo athletes to help Hong Kong.
The chairman of the Hong Kong Practical Taekwondo Association said Lo Wai-feng's qualification for the Olympic Taekwondo event is one among many factors inspiring young children to take up the sport. He stressed there's been a massive surge in interest in Taekwondo over the last few decades, primarily through interest classes available in kindergartens.
Meanwhile, a number of elementary schools, such as this one in Ngau Tau Kok, have already planned to organize sports days to generate interest among students. Some of them set activities such as fencing, as well as some newer Olympic events, including breakdancing and skateboarding, will be available. Timothy Lee, TVB News.
The city's top court has unanimously upheld 7 pro-democracy activists' convictions for knowingly participating in an unauthorized assembly in 2019. They include former media mogul Jimmy Lai. Jackie Lin with more.
Former lawmakers Martin Lee and Margaret Ng were the only appellants present at the Court of Final Appeal this morning. The other 5 appellants are serving their prison terms or under detention over other charges. The 7 also include Jimmy Lai, Leung Kwok Hong, also known as Long Hair, Sid Ho, Albert Ho, and Lee Chuk-yan. They were found guilty at the District Court of organizing and knowingly participating in an unauthorized assembly on August 18, 2019. The rally called the Waterflow March was organized by the Civil Human Rights Front. The court handed down prison sentences ranging from 8 to 18 months. 3 defendants were given suspended sentences. The 7 defendants later successfully appealed against their convictions of organizing an unauthorized rally. But the participation convictions stand. The appellant's proposition cited 2 UK Supreme Court decisions. That's to argue that the lower courts had failed to verify whether the Democrats' convictions would be a proportionate restriction of their fundamental rights. Chief Justice Andrew Cheung and Permanent Judge Roberto Ribeiro ruled that the UK Supreme Court decisions are not to be followed. They noted their legal contexts are different from that in Hong Kong and include features of no local relevance. The appellant said the rally was conducted peacefully and the police's arrests days later amount to a disproportionate restriction of the human rights. The judges rejected that. They said the appellants did not question the police's objection of the march as unconstitutional. In a unanimous rejection by a panel of 5 judges, the 7 appellants lost their bid to overturn their convictions. Margaret Ng spoke to reporters outside the court after the hearing.
We haven't had a chance to look at this very important judgment. This is not the right time to make comments. We just want to take this occasion to thank our legal teams and all the people who have been supporting us.
Martin Lee, meanwhile, did not take media's questions. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Russia evacuated parts of another region next to Ukraine Monday after Kyiv increased military activity near the border. This just days after the biggest incursion into Russian territory by Ukrainian forces since the start of the war between the two countries in 2022. Meanwhile, a fire in the vicinity of the Russian-occupied Zaporizhzhia power plant was reported by Ukrainian officials late Sunday. Tracy Furness has more.
Plumes of smoke are seen near one of the Zaporizhzhia power plant's cooling towers in this video circulated by Ukrainian officials. Ukraine and Russia blame each other for the alleged fire. According to the head of the military administration of Nikopol, which is across the river from where the plant is located, Russian forces set fire to automobile tires in the cooling towers to make it appear as though a fire had broken out. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia was using the plant to blackmail Ukraine and playing to Western fears of escalation. The Russia-appointed governor of the occupied Zaporizhzhia region accused Ukrainian forces of shelling the plant and causing the fire. He provided no evidence for the claim. This apartment building in Kursk was damaged by a falling missile that blew out windows and injured 13 people. This man said about 3 or 4 cars were burning. People, children were crying, running out of the house. This woman said the curtains were torn off, the wall tiles fell down. It was very scary. This as the Russian Red Cross has been helping evacuees from border areas of Kursk with temporary accommodation, food and clothes. About 76,000 residents have been evacuated so far. The Russian Red Cross has also set up a hotline for those who lost contact with their relatives. They received almost 3,000 calls in less than a day. Tracy Furness, TVB News.
Israel has told the U.S. it expects a direct attack by Iran in the coming days. The U.S. is deploying extra military resources to the Middle East to aid Israel's defense. Iran has pledged to avenge the killing of Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh in Tehran at a time of their choosing. Intelligence chiefs believe that time is imminent. David Garrett with more.
Flashes of light and explosions between buildings. Israel trying to repel what its military said were more than 30 projectiles fired by Hezbollah from Lebanon. There were no injuries, with most rockets falling into open areas. The country's intelligence community believes Iran has decided to attack Israel directly within days. Tehran has promised retaliation for the killing of the political leader of Hamas, Ismail Haniyeh, last month. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has neither confirmed or denied carrying out the assassination. Israel is preparing. Defence Minister Yoav Gallant visited a military base and spoke with new recruits and told the troops of imminent escalation. We hear these messages from the direction of Iran and Hezbollah. I tell them and you, if they harm us in a way they have not acted in the past, they are also likely to get hit by us in a way that we have not acted in the past. Gallant also spoke with his US counterpart Lloyd Austin on the telephone. Gallant telling Austin he understands Iran is readying its response. Austin has deployed a guided missile submarine to the region. The USS Georgia has been in the Mediterranean Sea since July. It is rare to announce submarine deployment, a public warning to Iran. The Pentagon said Austin also ordered the Abraham Lincoln Strike Group to accelerate its deployment. The statement said America is committed to taking every possible step to defend Israel. Meanwhile, smoke billows over Gaza, with ceasefire talks making little progress. The weekend attack on a school-turned-shelter killing 80 drew international condemnation. Alongside the bombs, Israel has dropped leaflets telling Palestinians to leave Khan Yunis. This is at least the third assault on the city since the Hamas attack on October 7th. There is little left. Israel claims there are still legitimate Hamas military targets. Already displaced, this woman says, "Where do I go? I don't know, because all places are crowded. There is no place to go. We are sitting, waiting for God's relief." These people have little choice but to pack up what little they have and move again. David Garrett, TVB News.
The Philippines has urged Beijing to de-escalate tensions in the South China Sea after an aerial incident. Manila called actions by China's Air Force very dangerous. The criticism and altercation over the Scarborough Shoal, known in China as Huangyan Island, came after the two nations agreed to better manage maritime disputes. The Philippines says two Chinese Air Force planes dropped flares in the path of one of their military aircraft on Thursday above the disputed area. The Philippine military described it as provocative and endangered lives. China said the aircraft ignored repeated warnings and intruded into the airspace of Huangyan Island. Still ahead, the funeral of one of the three young girls recently killed in a stabbing spree in northern England. Tropical storm Maria makes landfall in the northeast of Japan. Welcome back. The funeral of 9-year-old Alice da Silva Aguiar was held in Southport in northern England on Sunday. She was one of the three girls killed in a mass stabbing last month. Hundreds of locals lined the streets to say one final goodbye as the child was laid to rest. At the funeral, her parents called for an end to the nationwide riots that followed the killings. Danny Cho has the story.
A horse-drawn carriage slowly carried the coffin of 9-year-old Alice da Silva Aguiar to St. Patrick's Catholic Church. Mourners dressed in white walked in a solemn procession with pink and white flowers in hand. Alice's white coffin was covered in pink flowers, and the funeral service began with singing and guitar playing as a tribute to her love for the instrument. Alice was one of the three victims of a fatal stabbing spree at a Taylor Swift-themed dance class in Southport on July the 29th. Two other young girls died in the incident, and a 17-year-old suspect has been charged with 3 counts of murder and 10 counts of attempted murder. In an emotional address made on behalf of Alice's grieving parents, she was described as a perfect dream child who was a lover of animals and moved through the world with confidence and empathy. Asking their beloved daughter to keep dancing in heaven, the couple, who came from Madeira in Portugal, expressed their unimaginable pain for losing her, as well as gratitude for the full support of two countries. The death of the three girls was the catalyst for weeks of violent unrest that rocked UK. Groups of far-right activists used online misinformation about the suspect as a pretext to stage rallies and thuggery, including looting shops and attacking mosques, targeting immigrants and Muslims. Authorities have so far arrested nearly 800 people, of whom 349 were charged. Since last Wednesday, thousands of peaceful protesters took to the streets in major cities to counter far-right rallies and racism. Head of the Merseyside Police, Serena Kennedy, who was also present at Alice's funeral, delivered the message from her parents that no one should commit acts of violence in their daughter's name. Kennedy added those who took part in the violent disorder should be ashamed of themselves. Danny Zhou, TVB News.
In Japan, transport has been severely disrupted by heavy rain and strong winds as Tropical Storm Maria made landfall in the northeast of the country. Flights and train services have been canceled. Some people were evacuated from their homes as winds swept through at 75 kilometers an hour, even though Maria has weakened from a typhoon. A warning of mudslides is in place, and people have been told to seek shelter. It is a public holiday in Japan, but Prime Minister Fumio Kishida is monitoring the situation. In view of the increased risks of earthquakes in Japan, the SAR government has reminded Hong Kongers heading to the country to stay vigilant. Jackie Lin with more.
Earthquakes of magnitude 5.3 and 7.1 struck Japan's Miyazaki and Kanagawa prefectures respectively last week. The Japan Meteorological Agency warned of the possibility of a major quake. For the first time, the agency issued the special advisory, a Nankai 12 earthquake extra information alerting the possible mega-quake. The tremors could be felt all the way from the Kanto region to Kyushu, and a 30-meter high tsunami may occur along the coast facing the Pacific Ocean. With about half a month to go before the end of the summer holiday, should people go elsewhere for vacation? Travel writer and blogger Akio Hong said areas facing the Sea of Japan will be safer, spanning from the Tohoku region to Hokkaido. They include Shoryudo, also known as the Dragon Route, located around the central part of Japan. If travelers can't change their itinerary, they're advised to stay away from the shorelines and download the disaster prevention or earthquake apps. Some travel companies said despite the heightened risks, not a lot of clients have cancelled their trip for now. Yun Chun-ning, executive director of travel agency WWPKG, has reminded the public that if they want to cancel their tours, the decision should be made as soon as possible, so restaurants or airlines they made reservations with might offer partial refunds. The Security Bureau has also updated its travel advisory for Japan. It maintains the amber outbound travel alert for Japan, meaning there are signs of threat where travelers should exercise caution. But the alert only covers areas near the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant. In its supplementary information, it noted Japan's mega quick advisory, reminding residents traveling to Japan to pay attention to the latest announcements from local authorities. Jackie Lin, TVB News.
Starting last July 10th, non-Chinese Hong Kong permanent residents can apply for mainland travel permits. Some organizations have arranged tours of the Greater Bay Area for non-ethnic Chinese students to deepen their understanding of Chinese culture. The South Asian students from Yau Tse Mong district are setting off on the 3-day trip. They will visit a museum in Nansha and their sister school in Panyu. The students will learn about Chinese culture and the different opportunities to undertake further studies on the mainland. And the next Hong Kong Marathon will be held on February 9th next year. It will be open for public registration starting on Wednesday next week. There will still be a quota of around 74,000 participants with the same routes. The full marathon and half marathon will commence from Nathan Road in Tsim Sha Tsui. The 10-kilometer race, meanwhile, will kick off on the Island Eastern Corridor. All races will end at Victoria Park. The number of age groups has been increased from 8 to 20. That's the news. Thanks for watching. Pearl Magazine is up shortly. Bye for now.